From stones to cash to credit cards, our form of change is changing again.
It's evolving quickly. A lot of technology is being put behind it, and a lot of smart people are trying to figure this out.
Now, Bitcoin, a virtual currency, is the latest way to pay.
When it comes to Bitcoin, I mean, I don't pay any processing fees. I'm not paying merchant fees. I don't have to pay for setup fees or monthly fees at all.
Missouri State economic professor Dr. David Mitchell says Bitcoin can be used as a universal currency and a way to avoid fees from converting one form of money to another.
I essentially have, well, I've got this in Bitcoin, and this person over in China is also using Bitcoin. We can just have this transaction amongst ourselves.
Bitcoin was invented and now monitored by the Bitcoin Foundation. That's something Dr. Mitchell says could pose a problem down the road.
The U.S. dollar, it's not backed by gold, but it is backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. Bitcoin isn't backed by gold, but there's no government behind it either.
Ken Cox has been in the Bitcoin business for a year now and says it's an investment he believes in.
The price of Bitcoins at that point, when we first raised the funds, were about $60. And now they're roughly $850.
The Bitcoin network is made up of a computer or groups of computers called miners. These miners are constantly running to decode an encrypted message or math problem and send the correct answer back to the Bitcoin Foundation. Once the correct answer is found, the miners are awarded a block of 25 Bitcoins. Ken is the owner of several miners and the mining company River City Mining in St. Louis.
We're doing pooled mining, so we're in a bigger group, and we get smaller fractions of those 25.
Ken shows us around his computers that mine 24/7.
It's an arms race. The entire market's running as fast as they can to build bigger and better gear.
Stefan Petrov is the owner of a food truck who accepts Bitcoin as currency.
One of our Tweety sandwiches will cost $7. The customer who will come up and pay with Bitcoin will send me from his wallet to my wallet 0.0072 Bitcoin.
The current exchange rate for one Bitcoin is $500 to $800 US, but can be used and bought at a fraction of that using an equation.
Bitcoins are divisible by 9 today, and that's set by the Bitcoin Foundation. So in your US dollars, you can go .00, quarters and pennies, that's it. Bitcoins are divisible by 9 decimal points.
Ken says it's easier to understand how Bitcoin works by actually seeing the transaction in action, so we found a coffee shop in downtown St. Louis to see how it works.
Scan the code with my phone. She would tell me the amount that is owed. So let's say 0.06 Bitcoin. I would just say 0.06 Bitcoin, and then I would tap send.
Ken and Stefan say it takes just minutes for the transaction to go through. And even big companies like Overstock.com and several casinos in Las Vegas accept Bitcoin too.
Yeah, I mean, you can go to Overstock.com today and I can buy a couch, I can buy a video camera, cell phone, pretty much anything that I want with using Bitcoins.
As KOLR 10 first explained yesterday, Bitcoin is a currency that exists online. People earn Bitcoins when supercomputers solve complex math problems. Bitcoins are then sold through the price fluctuates daily. KOLR 10's Brett Martin spoke with an expert to find out if he thinks this could be the future currency of the world.
Jennifer, Dr. David Mitchell from Missouri State says although people are cashing in big time with Bitcoin, it still needs some help. He says he has his doubts, but he'll leave the decision to get involved up to you. Ken Cox is the founder of River City Mining in St. Louis and says he's earned his fair share by getting involved in Bitcoin.
I've made 2 mistakes in Bitcoin, and that's selling Bitcoin and not going aggressive enough when I should have.
Bitcoins are digital coins you can send through.
There are multiple ways of getting involved in the virtual world.
There's a lot of different avenues for Bitcoin. There's the trading, the mining, the storage. The best thing that I can think of would be any currency, the dollar or gold.
Dr. David Mitchell from Missouri State says it can't be compared to the U.S. dollar because it has no government regulating it.
The problem with Bitcoin is one of credibility. You know, it's not backed by a government, and it's not backed by a precious metal.
He says the only way for Bitcoin to earn credibility is by people trusting in it. But one of the biggest problems he's seen is if you take a look at the exchange rate, it changes every minute. Since Bitcoin isn't regulated, the exchange board, similar to the stock market, can fluctuate drastically within hours and has a wide range of values. Ken says when it first began, people used Bitcoin like the stock market. Now, it's more like an everyday currency.
We're through the batch of the kids, the Bitcoin millionaires that hit it big when they were mining this stuff when it was brand new.
Dr. Mitchell says it's not being used enough, though.
One of the problems with it now, though, is that it's not traded enough to have a lot of those fluctuations be smooth. There's too much volatility.
But Ken says if more people get involved, it'll level out and save money in the end and can help reduce debt.
When you start living your life on Bitcoins, you live your life on Bitcoins and you can spend what you have.
It's nice to see that it's popping up in places around the Midwest.
But Bitcoin has been involved in multiple investigations, mostly along the Silk Road, a website shut down for drug trafficking.
Our responsibility as prosecutors is to...
Recently, the Bitcoin Foundation vice president was arrested and charged with money laundering in New York City, too. Ken says the negative attention hit the Bitcoin market, but he knows it'll bounce back.
I think in the long run, as the authorities get a better grasp on what's going on, to be able to track the people that are doing illegal activity is much simpler than with U.S. dollars.
Dr. Mitchell says the illegal uses and the few places accepting Bitcoin could hurt its growth.
They have to be universally accepted. I have to believe that my employer can pay me in some currency, and I can take that currency and I can use it to buy the goods and services that I want.
Ken says if you do want to get involved, it's easy. First, you'd want to download an application or sign up for an online wallet using a website like Coinbase. Next, you would connect your credit card or debit card to your account and begin converting U.S. dollars to Bitcoin. While we haven't found any places in Southwest Missouri that accept it, with more trust, both Ken and Dr. Mitchell think it could be the next form of cold, hard cash.
Credit card debt is a huge problem in our world, and Bitcoin, you don't have that, right? There's no way to go out and borrow Bitcoins.
If people begin accepting it as a form of currency, then yeah, it will become a form of currency.